You might say 6:30. Oh, it's nice to be in seventh grade. Yeah, exactly. I call this meeting of the New Shoreham Town Council to order. Today is Wednesday, May 17th. It is 6:33 PM. We are going to have a probably brief closed session. We're going to have a brief closed session regarding the negotiations between the town and the collective bargaining organization for the town's police officers. That'll be an update from the town's labor lawyer and from the town manager. And then when we are done with that, we will convene at 7 PM to begin the Board of License Commissioners agenda. So I would make a motion to go into closed session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. We're in closed session.
Dealing with, one of our former meetings, she was at her.
Golden Retriever.
House, and her boyfriend, husband, whatever. Yeah.
I'm gonna text him.
She's a pain.
And he's gonna say.
She was a pain in the ass. Laura was ready to kill her at the end of the retreat because she knows everything.
Oh, really? Oh, God. You're much more if I ever did that, I would appropriately, really. be in trouble.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, no, absolutely. Oh, no, there's a whole. Oh. No, she has this whole character. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And knowing full well you're gonna interrupt me.
That's the best part. Still think it's the problem.
What else can you do? That's it. Well, they yours? Okay, because you, I think the wrong person or. So that, like, I said, well, it's proper, it's gotta be, it's gotta be that. Of course,
These guys, everyone. This guy. Traditional, that is what they do. It's maximum, scripture.
Well, now.
One is. Where he working? Oh, no. Sorry. So he's not. And they probably. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Several stations. Yeah. Oh, I looked at it.
Yes, yes.
No, we want to stop there. June, at first we can do it now.
And one of the grants.
Yeah,
You talk about the 5th through the 9th.
And, I don't, can't do it alone. But he doesn't.
Town manager. Then you said.
Report of the town meeting. Is that it? Since I'm very proper.
Yes. Any day that week, I will make work. Any day that week, I will make work.
What?
The week of the 12th to the 16th, Monday the 12th, yes. Let's do it after. Oh, that's because that's. How about the 1st or 2nd? June.
Oh, good.
The 1st is Thursday, the 2nd.
Thursday the first. So, wait, where did you?
So we can do it at 4.
Yeah, that's right. So it doesn't matter.
Let's do it at 4. What time do you guys usually? Yeah.
Make sure that. Oh, we just have to.
Friday? You're not here Thursday or Friday. That's totally fine. Let's just square it up. No. Then okay. I say any day in the week between the 12th and the 16th. Oh, you've got race weeks. I don't expect it to be more than 90 minutes. Hey, Bill.
That's what you should have called it. Or late. Because I got, you want me dinner, leaving, be that, get him going.
Say
I
F,
get him next year.
say F the news. No.
They're not, I just said.
Please, please.
Oh.
We have a macrame class that day.
That's going assholes anonymous.
Asinine. I'm gonna, I intend to hold it. Who? Hmm? Yes. Yes, no, there are two things. The one on consent is the underlying lease with the Renowskis.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought you wanted to.
No, it's the second one to the chamber. Yeah. No, it's, I was confused by that as well. Yeah, yes. No. Not at all. Thanks, everybody, for attending. We're back in to open session. Just for those of you who weren't here, we had a closed session at 6:30 to review with the town's labor lawyer the negotiations with the police union. No votes were taken, and I would accept a motion to seal the minutes. Is there a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. Minutes are sealed. Now I would make a motion to convene ourselves as the Board of License Commissioners. So moved. Second. Somebody. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. We're now convened as the Board of License Commissioners, and before us, we have a matter to discuss and act on an application for expansion of liquor service area for the CAM Group LLC stockholders, Allison Nason, Melissa Kelly, Mike Kylie, Mike and Kristen Kylie, doing business as Yellow Kittens Winfields, 214 Corn Neck Road, Plat 6, Lot 35. 135. Thank you. Everybody has seen the documentation. Are there any questions? So, Kristen, you want to just walk through your plan? Sure. Thank you. Just identify yourself if you don't mind.
Screen. Kristen Kiley. I'm here representing the CAM Group. We're asking for expansion of our liquor service to a new deck that we've built in front of Winfields. We would like to use the deck as an extension of Winfields to allow the customers to have light appetizers, cocktails, desserts. We have permission from the state fire marshal to put 3 fire pits out there. And we're planning to put some couches and more lounge type furniture. We found that sometimes when people come to Winfields and we don't have a table ready for them, we offer that they could go over to Yellow Kittens and have a drink. And sometimes that doesn't sit well with everyone if they don't really know. Right. It's not what they were looking for. They're looking for a little bit more of an, elegant experience. And so we're trying to, improve the experience at Winfields. We are not looking to expand the Yellow Kitten side of the business into that area. We don't feel as though that's something it would probably not go well. We're trying to keep it upscale and casual and, you know, we don't want to take all the furniture off.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
so, yes, we may have we have permission to do outdoor entertainment and we would probably have the jazz and the outdoor entertainment out there and, so,
Great. Thank
any
you.
questions?
Any questions? for
So in
Kristen?
essence, the same music that's been in Winfields is what you're talking about, not a change of tone or approach.
No, we would have,
Just
you know,
confirming.
yeah, we would have the jazz or just solo, maybe we may have it more frequently, sort of what, you know, solo guitarist or, you know, low key music that people can converse around and, you know,
Wonderful.
Now
And-
it's a question, clarity. The bar will stay inside and people will be allowed to drink outside, or you're putting a service bar outside?
we don't have a service bar planned outside
Okay.
right now.
So you grab your drink and then just relax
Yeah.
outside? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, another thing another thing would happen is like the bar at Winfields would often fill up with people having dinner.
Sure.
So if somebody wanted to have a drink, you know, again, there wouldn't be a seat for them. So we're just trying to expand that experience a little bit and, you know, allow people to maybe enjoy, you know, an after dinner drink by the fire or, you know, something to that effect.
And what are the hours you propose for outside service?
The outside service there, we would keep with the Winfields, which usually Winfields, probably it may be more to like 10:30, 11, I guess. When Winfields kind of closes up, that would be the same.
Thank you.
Molly?
So I wanted to ask that, but also, do you have a way to keep people from congregating out there after Winfields has closed?
Yes, we purchased 3, like some tall trellis planters that are 5 feet high. And so we're gonna line those up and kind of rope, you know, and use those as a physical barricade so people can't get out there and, you know, lounge around on the furniture unsupervised.
So this would be Winfield service and Yellow Kittens will continue to be what it has been in the past.
Yes. we
This
don't-
isn't an expansion of your Yellow Kittens
No,
deck.
no,
Okay.
we don't have any interest in like expanding the Yellow Kittens model right now, you know, or in general. That's not the purpose of this.
Terrific. Any other questions? Any comments from the audience about it? Then a motion would be in order to approve the expansion of the liquor service area for the Cam Group LLC, doing business as Yellow Kittens Winfields 214 Corn Neck Road, Plat 6, Lot 135, pursuant to the site plan on file dated April 21st, 2023, and restricting the seating capacity between Yellow Kittens and Winfields to 260.
Second.
Do you want to run the hours concurrent with Winfields?
Is that what you had in mind? I assume that was in the. application.
Yeah,
what
the
you just
only,
said.
the only thing I would consider doing out there is sometimes we have, or often we have, wedding parties that, bring pizza. So we may want to allow a private party to put their pizza out there so that it doesn't get mixed up. A lot of times we have after parties and they buy pizza from this pizza place next door. And when we bring that into the Yellow Kittens, sometimes it can be a little bit of a struggle to keep everybody from eating it and just have the people with the wristbands eat it. And so that would be the, you know, that would be the one thing I might consider allowing a private party to eat their pizza out there rather than, but it's not, wouldn't be something that the general public would be allowed to use.
Great. So we have a motion
Pete?
made. Yes.
Would you please call, it's a public hearing, so. would you
Oh,
please
right,
call
of
the public-
course, yes. I want to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
No, hang on. We
You
want a
asked-
public hearing, so you. need
But he
to
did.
ask if anyone
I
has
did.
any-
He did.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Yes. Would anybody, I'll say it again, just to ensure that this is.
The two of us missed it.
Public hearing. Millie, do you have anything to say about this? Any Anybody else? Make a motion to close the public hearing. Second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So I will, just for sake of clarity, repeat the motion to approve the expansion of the liquor service area for the Cam Group LLC, doing business as Yellow Kittens Winfields, 214 Corn Neck Road, Plat 6, Lot 135, pursuant to the site plan on file dated April 21st, 2023, and restricting the seating capacity between Yellow Kittens and Winfields to 216.
Second, if we need to.
Any discussion of that motion? No. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Before you go, I just wanted to mention that I think that deck looks fabulous.
Thank
I
you.
really think you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
And I think it's not the only really nice construction project in that area. What Chris Willie has done with the front of Nick is really fabulous. If I recall correctly, the Audinos have done some dressing up of their streetscape. And I think all of that really adds a lot to that corner. So I know you're doing it for business reasons, but you've done it well. I know we all really appreciate that. We spend a lot of time complaining about places, and I got to say, I think you guys did a great job.
Thank you very much.
Can I also add that
Yeah.
we did have one letter from an abutter who was concerned about the noise. It doesn't sound like there's going to be a lot of additional noise, but obviously everybody should be considerate of their neighbors in that area. There's a lot of music in that area. So,
I would make a motion to return to the Board of License Commission. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye. We are now with the open session of the town council. On item number 3 of our agenda tonight, public comment. Is there any public comment for the council tonight? Hey, Catherine, come on up.
Thanks, guys.
Come on up when you're thank you for coming tonight. Thank you.
I don't have a choice.
It's amazing how she looks like you.
I'm here to talk about housing.
Great.
So I have something that I'd like to bring to you all. Something that I've been working on for 2 or 3 years now, almost 3 years. A 2.5-year journey, I'd say, trying to move a house to a lot that I own. And there's this super well-intentioned ordinance that just has 0 teeth to it and nothing to back it up. And I just would like all of you to really consider it when you're talking about housing. And that is advertising houses that are going to be torn down for free to be moved. So every year there's 5 or 6 houses that are getting torn down
Yep.
on this island. Perfectly good houses that people have been living in for years, that people could still continue to live in for years and years and years. And they get advertised and people want them, and moving them is possible. But there's a building code regulation that once the house gets picked up, it has to be completely brought up to modern code. Now, that's not a problem for some of the bigger houses that are being torn down. The problem with moving a bigger house, I've found, is that Verizon is not willing to work with anybody on moving the wires. BIPCO is.
Yeah.
BIPCO, Jeff Wright has driven routes with me.
Yeah.
Measured things. He's given me quotes. He's totally on board with dropping wires to move a house. Not a problem for BIPCO. For Verizon, it's a huge problem. So then you start looking at smaller houses. And when smaller houses get torn down, like those are typically older houses that were built back in the day. They're small cottages. There's been quite a few of those what I was told to look for was a burger. And once you start looking at burgers, you see there's burgers all over the place. The special thing about a burger is it goes right under the wires.
Oh.
And I've gone with Scott Cattell on driving routes to move burgers. And we've measured, he takes his stick and he goes up. All the burgers go right under the wires. So then you don't have to deal with Verizon.
Right.
But the problem with that is these modest little cottages that are being torn down and thrown away were built back in the day. So now you have to bring the whole thing up to code. It's something that somebody's been living in forever.
Do you know, Catherine, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No.
is that an ordinance or is that the state?
That's the
building
state building code. And it's like, I only just found the wording in the the building codes.
code? Yeah,
It's a lot of reading.
yeah.
I only just found it recently. It's like 4 words. It's in a subsection of a subsection. And it's basically once you pick it up, even though you're not changing it at all, and someone's been living in it for 50 years, once you pick it up, you have to bring it up to code. And what I've been told by contractors is that's going to cost more than building a brand new house of the same size,
Right.
which on Block Island is not affordable.
Right.
Even a 22 by 22 foot house. Okay. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I brought it up to the Affordable Housing Board. I brought it up to different people. I know, Keith, you had to get me in contact with Verizon. I know you remember, like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
it took an act of
Yes.
the town council
yes,
and the town manager
Yeah.
just to get me a phone number
I
of
know.
someone to talk to at
Yeah.
Verizon, right?
Yeah,
So this has been a long journey and
Yeah.
I've done a lot of research and I just can't believe that for a place where we have a plastic bag ban and a balloon ban, we're throwing entire houses in dumpsters.
yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
That's a really, is Tom still, Tom, is there, does the state building code, is there ever an opportunity to get variances from it? I'm just curious about how that process works.
Me
Ac-
too.
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
You can appeal to the building official, the Board of Building Commissioners, and request an appeal or request a variance. They
So,
don't, they're not frequent, but they can.
so
happen.
just theoretically, if Catherine and her family found a burger that was in reasonable shape, we could, Catherine could go and the town could support her in requesting a variance from that section of the code.
Well, the town would have to deny it,
I
and
see.
then she would go to the board to appeal the denial.
Okay.
And they would offer a variance around the building official. That's the process.
And that board
So
is
we'd
on
have-
the mainland.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'd have to, so Catherine would have to, this is just a procedural
Gotcha,
question.
yep.
So Catherine finds a burger, bringing it up to code would cost more than the house, let's just say.
Probably.
But she applies, the building official says, sorry,
In accordance with the code. you
in
know.
accordance with the code, you can't do that. Then we could take an appeal from our own building official, basically.
I think the
or
the
or
owner of the
would.
house and, with a free house that,
But theoretically, we
But
could, for example, do a resolution that says, we support her.
absolutely,
Right.
you could endorse the appeal,
Right.
but I think the owner would have to make the application.
Yeah, or that, that's very helpful. Please, yeah.
So the other way, I know we're in public comment.
Oh,
but
right.
We gotta be a little careful here, but the other way to do it would be to go to Rhode Island Housing or other places and say, hey, given everything Catherine just said, we don't want to tear this down. If it has to be renovated, what kind of zero interest loans or what kind of financing can they help with to alleviate this, which is different than the 519 discussion, but it's going to funding organizations to help minimize trash, blah, 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 blah. So it's just a different way to do it, and then it's up to code. Or theoretically.
Catherine, I'm gonna, since I've actively violated our own rules around public comment, I'm going to, I think we'd like to agenda this and really have a conversation about it and figure out a plan, okay?
That,
'Cause-
that would be great because
Great.
I feel like if you put a little more oomph behind that, the thought that the intentions that go behind the ordinance that require it to be advertised before it's demolished, if there was a little something more to give the people who could take the house a little protection or a little something so that
But
we can.
if there are changes we need to make in the ordinance,
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
All right.
But
that
then
sounds
we
good.
also have to have a strategy to deal with the state building code.
Yeah.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
I
'Cause we-
understand,
So,
yeah.
so, Millie, would you just make a note that we'll talk about that? Thank you,
Awesome.
Catherine.
Thank
That's
you.
Very interesting.
Thank you very much.
Can I talk to you? Keith?
Nope.
Can I, also, if we have a discussion on housing and one of them is obviously this relocation, pre-demo. The other thing I would love to have on that agenda would be a sub-bullet of, is there a way to, I'm gonna use weird words, but if somebody has an illegal apartment now, to have them an amnesty period or some of that nature of coming clean,
Mhm.
saying it, registering as a 513, then we actually start to get control of how many apartments.
Happy to
So
do that.
I would love to put it on an agenda so it's a discussion.
Great,
Um,
terrific.
and I can
That-
work with
that sounds
Millie on the
wonderful.
wording.
Fantastic. Any other public comment today? All right then, thank you. Catherine, oh, sorry, Sandra, I didn't see you there. I was mesmerized by Rob Gilpin.
I always am. Sandra Kelly, Mohegan Trail. I would like to thank the chefs who did such a great job
The chef.
yesterday. No, and you all
Hey.
contributed in your own ways. I totally appreciate it. And I do want you to know that you are a council that cares
Thank you.
and have listened to us.
I
So,
really appreciate that.
yeah, absolutely. So just let me know when we can book you again.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Sandra. Gary?
Hi there.
Hey, Gary.
I'm a little confused because I read an article in the Times this week, the Block Island Times, that is, about the carousel at
About the
Aldo's,
what?
the carousel at Aldo's
Mhm.
being, I think, approved or allowed. And when I was here not long ago, it seemed like you all were adamant like that it was not an allowed thing.
That was the zoning board's decision.
But am I correct? You were, again, you said it was not allowed.
Yeah, I think the building official issued a notice of violation to Aldos about that. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, it took 2 years. It's really, to me, quite astounding that it took 2 years for somebody to figure out, thank goodness the zoning board did, finally, recognize that the three carousel that can hold 3 toddlers
Mm.
is so different than a amusement park carousel that holds 150 adults. And why it took 2 years to figure that out is kind of bewildering to me. And the council still thinks it shouldn't be allowed. Correct?
I don't think we've contemplated that. It was.
Well,
never
you
been-
said that when I was here. You were very strongly worded about the amusement rides not being allowed and mentioned Aldo's. Anyway, I just think,
Thank you, Gary.
thank you.
Any other public comment? David, is your hand up or are you just scratching it? That's how you get volunteered for things. Next, we have the consent agenda approval of minutes. I did want to point out that under the consent agenda, item B, First Amendment to Land Lease Agreement and License Agreement between Intrastate Nav and the town of New Shoreham is basically, there are 2 leases that operate there. There's one where the Renoskis, basically, we have a lease with them. And then there's a second lease between the town and the chamber. So this is not about the chamber lease. This is about the lease from the Renoskis to the town. Awarding a couple of contracts. One, hooray for painting North Light. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Tom, for your work on that. Heinz Field Maintenance to EH Turf Services. A notice to Can Group LLC on the matter that we just discussed. And a similar notice for a variance for construction to the Thomas property. Notice to the town about a town project. Are there any, anybody want anything taken off the consent agenda? If not, I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The consent agenda is adopted. Millie, you're on. Set a public hearing date for the amendment to parking ordinances. Are we square and moving on that, guys? June 21st. Neil, does that work for you? Terrific. June 20, I would make a motion. Do I have to make a motion? To schedule the public hearing for the amendment to the parking ordinance, chapter 18, traffic and motor vehicles, article 3, stopping, standing and parking for June 21st, 2023 at 7 PM at Town Hall. Second. All those in favor indicate yes. Well, okay.
David Lewis, Coonimus Road. This may be the last opportunity to easily say this to a small but knowledgeable group. I want to personally thank Neil for the extraordinary effort that he put in as a member of the council, doing the legwork, painful, tedious, time-consuming, to put enough actionable information, and the emphasis on the word actionable, so that the entire council and the manager and the police department and all of the other people who then provided input to what is going to become a successful ordinance vote after the public hearing. And as Neil pointed out, and I think others echoed it, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we have to start somewhere. And that somewhere really started with Neil by producing actionable information for the group. So I just want to make that public comment about Neil and how much he has moved this particular agenda item forward. Thank you.
Or parked it.
Yeah, totally agree, David. Thank you. We have a motion before us to set the public hearing date for June 21st at 7 PM at Town Hall. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. That's set. Item 6, set a public hearing date for an amendment to the Harbors Ordinance defining the Harbor Committee's membership. General Ordinance, Chapter 9, Marine Activities, Areas and Structures, Article 3, Harbors Division 2, Harbors Committee, Section 9-56, appointed, semicolon, duties. Same day? I would make a motion to set that public hearing for June 21st at 7 PM at Town Hall. Second. Any discussion of that item? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. That one is set. Please.
Millie, at some point, can we do a review of any other committees that potentially would benefit from similar, structures? I'm not saying now, but at some point, if there are any other committees that could benefit.
We did do a query and checked in with all of the clerks for other committees. And the feedback we got was the zoning board, which, as you know,
Has it?
requires that. There's, and then there was another conservation, but they're at their max by state law as well. So,
Right.
and it doesn't seem to be a provision. Okay, and I didn't get feedback on HDC, but that's noted. Thank
Well,
you.
we've been short somebody for over a year and a half,
So do you,
not the same person.
okay.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Discuss and act on lease agreement for the town's hospitality center located in Old Harbor at $10,000 per year. This is item number 8. You have it. Oh, did I miss something? 7. Oh, right, of course, sorry about that. Discuss, act, and potentially set a public hearing date for an ordinance amendment requested by the Motor Vehicles for Hire Commission. General Ordinance, Chapter 8, Licenses and Business Regulations, Article 7, Motor Vehicles for Hire, Section 8-161H3, Commission on Motor Vehicles for Hire. The background on this is that there is a person who holds a chauffeur license, who by virtue of holding that chauffeur license, is not eligible to serve in one of the roles, one of the slots, I should say, on the Motor Vehicle for Hire Commission. And this would be to set a public hearing date to hear the commission and any interested parties on changing that reg. Correct? Same day? I would,
It's gonna be a long meeting.
I don't, a couple of them are like.
They're fast. This will be fast.
I would make a motion to set that item for a public hearing on June 21st at 7 PM at Town Hall. Is there a second? Yep. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Everything square, Millie? Item number 8, sorry, I skipped that. Discuss an act on lease agreement for the town's hospitality center located in Old Harbor at $10,000 per year. So, I think I'll start. Mary Ann has to recuse on this. My feeling about this is that I would rather do a 1-year extension rather than a 2. That takes us into January. I mean, there's no one who's been around this, process who hasn't heard, we should be doing this, we should be doing that, it should be this, it should be that. And I think frankly, by cutting it down to a year, we impose some external discipline on ourselves to get together and figure out what it's going to be. I'm certainly, if we're moving along and doing things, it's an extendable lease. I think in order to accomplish that, we would have to change, if you have the agreement in front of you, in section 2 term A, as I read it, we would have to change for and during the term of cross out, 3 is crossed out, cross out 2 and put 1 year. Beginning on January 15th, 2023, and ending on January 14th, 2024. That is actually a de facto like 8-month extension. Right.
So my only call out here would be, why are we doing a year? This is kicked around for many years.
It's
and
actually, I'm sorry.
Why aren't we doing 6 months?
That's what we're doing as a practical matter because it's retroactive to January.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's a good question.
All right.
It's actually 7 months, but. Any comment? Well, I would make a motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do have a comment, and that is, maybe during that meeting, I'd really like to discuss the whole concept of the chamber versus the welcome center and how that is structured, has been structured. and that
Sure.
This is really about a welcome center, not a chamber office. And I don't want to get into the old tit for tat stuff. I want to get into. let's move
What should it
forward.
look like? Exactly.
And how do we
Yes.
move it forward? So to me, this is about the welcome center agreement. In here's a whole lot around VICC, which to me is a different entity.
Right.
And I just want to make that very clear. So I'm not really comfortable with a lot of the writing in here by that nature.
Right,
And it's a good
yes.
discussion for the meeting.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And
I
I
just want
mean,
to get that on the record.
my view on this is we should put together, a working group of interested people and figure it out, whether that's in work sessions or small group, whatever. But we got to tackle it. And if we decide we can't tackle it, then we can at least stop complaining about it. So my motion is to, as I said, in the term section, change the term to a one-year term.
Do you want that to change in rents and utilities, the second provision? Would you remove it?
I think, I'm perfectly happy to do that if you.
Because you've still got, subsequent years.
Wait, I
Yes.
think we just removed it.
Yeah, 'cause you've still got renewal.
Okay, so let me, just to see if I get it right, under Roman numeral 2 subsection A, we're changing the new 2 to 1. So it would read for and during the term of 1 year. So we'd strike the S at the end of years, beginning on January 15th, 2023 and ending on January 14th, 2024. Renewal terms, I didn't think we needed to change because we may renew it or we may come up with a whole new lease. Then you're saying in second year, we should bracket out second year. Okay,
But first year wouldn't be $0 anymore.
That's just fine.
that's gone, that's
Right, okay.
struck anyway.
Alright.
Renewal years, I think is okay. Millie, are you getting this motion? Okay. I think those are the only changes, but please. You pick up anything, Neil, or Molly, that I missed? All right, we have a motion. You have a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Let's see. The next item is item 9, discuss and act on recommendations from the, oh, Mary Ann. Catherine, can you shout Mary Ann out the door there, please? Chris, I think, I don't know whether she'll be, Chris, I don't know whether she'll be more or less responsive if you call her.
You know, well, I know you the other day.
Martha? Oh, okay. Item 9, discuss and act on recommendation from the Harbors Committee, A, prohibiting off-season live-on boards in waters of Old Harbor from November 1st to May 1st. The council, I believe it's on clerk base, but the council received a memo on that item from the town manager indicating that she and Kate were going to be working on that issue and therefore we will not be taking action on that. Is that
That-
correct, Mary Ann?
That's correct. Kate and I are working on that. We will not be taking that item
Great.
up, although I do have a memo in there regarding item number B,
Right,
letter B, I'm sorry.
yes. Item B, requiring liveaboards in the waters of the town of New Shoreham to carry liability, hull, and environmental insurance. This is a request from Mary Ann and the harbor master. You've seen undoubtedly the town manager's memo on this. I had just one quick kind of technical question, if you will, and that is, would you like a motion from us that establishes a number, $300,000? Or would you like a motion that is at a level deemed appropriate by the harbor master?
I think to start off, I'll put the dollar amount in because it makes it easier in the sense of,
It's a pretty bright line.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
gotcha.
So, someone could say the harbor master, well, why not 250? Why not,
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think this draws the
Yep,
line. And
yep,
then
Great.
Kate and I have done some research on this and we made a number of phone calls and we may revisit this before next season based on what we've had been covered as we've gone through the research process. But that way it gets us through this year, which is the important.
Okay. Are there any questions about this matter? So a motion would be in order to enable the Harbors Department to implement a policy requiring that liveaboard vessels carry liability, hull, and environmental insurance at a level of $300,000.
Second.
Second?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Please.
Questions
Yeah,
or discussion?
any discussion?
Just to make it public and clarify, liveaboard is, I just want to make sure everybody gets it, is defined as?
He's asking you for the definition of a liveaboard.
I think it's more than 2 weeks.
I'm asking the harbor,
it
I'm
says-
asking the staff.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for the public.
Marianne and I have discussed this, and we would like it to be a 2-week minimum. So an individual that is on their private mooring, is in Anchorage, is on the town dock for more than 2 weeks. That is not the definition. We're not going with the definition of a liveaboard in the harbor management plan.
So
Okay.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
That,
And
I'm
we
good
came up
that.
with that because the private mooring applicants are required now to utilize their mooring for a minimum of 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
Thank you very much, Keith.
So we have a motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Yes, David?
Can I just get clarification as to whether that's intended to cover both harbors or just Old Harbor?
Both harbors is my understanding.
Both.
Correct.
Any further? Hey, Catherine, come on back up. You still have to identify yourself again, if you don't mind.
Catherine Puckett. I mean, obviously, I'm on the board, obviously, 6 months.
Mhm.
How are you gonna identify all the other ones, though? And with all the thousands and thousands of boats that come and go all the time, like, how are you gonna determine who has to? I mean, obviously, I would have to, because you see I'm out there for 6 months, but what about everybody else? Like, is it just for those
So,
of us that we see, or is it for
I'll,
all the thousands of others people?
obviously Kate can answer. I can just tell you from having worked on New Harbor for 2 summers, one operating launch, one for harbors. It actually becomes pretty clear who's there for more than a couple of weeks. It's, there are a lot of boats that go in and out. But the ones that are there for even more than a week are noticeable. At least that was my experience. Kate? The record show that Kate nodded her head. No, I'm teasing you.
But Kate, can I ask you kind of a silly question though? 2 weeks in total, right? So if somebody's
No,
on,
more than 2 weeks, a minimum of 2 weeks. If you're here for 6 days, if you're here for 13 days, that's not a requirement.
right, but I guess my question is, and again, this is a silly question. You know how much I know about harbors. So let's say I'm there at the boat basin.
That's private
For s-
property, and that's.
Oh, okay. So I was
this
just
is-
saying, but
this
like,
is Transient moorings, private moorings, Anchorage, and the town dock in Old Harbor, as well as the Anchorage. in Old
Okay.
Harbor.
so my example was bad. I guess what I really want to say is, do you mean more than 2 weeks in one location or 2 weeks total? Like if I'm on a mooring and then I go to a dock and then I go back to a mooring and then, you know, I'm saying if I move my boat around the harbor, I'm still there for 2
And you're
weeks.
living on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I wanted to clarify. Sorry. Badly.
And to Catherine's point, yes, I understand that there's people coming and going all the time. I'm out on the water every day. I know the majority of them. The majority of them already have this.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay, and I just want to make it transparent and consistent for everyone.
Well, we've also, it's important to note is if for people who don't, go to Harbors Committee meetings, or read the Block Island Times, we have had notable circumstances where uninsured boats end up becoming the responsibility of the town. It's, you know, hey, Bill.
Yeah, is it, and I know this is a little bit
Specific
further, but
green light.
does it make sense does it make sense to have boats on any town, if you have a town mooring, to have insurance?
Just sort of generally, you mean? It makes
I mean,
sense, it makes sense to me.
Like a Hurricane Bob or whatnot.
Yeah.
They break off and they go, so they're at least covered. And I realize you're targeting a more specific thing, but I think down the future, if you look at that, because if these boats were to break off, they'll be covered. And even it's a matter of like like with your car, you certify. that you have
Yeah,
insurance.
I mean,
It would be really nice if DEM required this, you know, it would be, they require you to register, but you don't have to have insurance.
Catherine.
I just want to put it on the record that I'm not against having insurance.
No, right. of course. Yes.
I've got the insurance. It's exactly.
Yes. Yes.
If there were an accident and something happened and my boat ended up on the beach, I'd have it off the beach in a hot second.
Yes.
Just because like that's my housing and it's
Yes.
it's my home for 6 months of the year on Block
Yes.
Island
Yep.
because of the housing crisis. Again,
Yes.
can I say housing crisis? Housing crisis. Housing crisis.
Yes.
Housing crisis.
We have a motion that's, oh, I'm sorry, Bill, then Gary, and then David.
I agree with Mary Ann, it'd be good if the DM required it, but the nice part about this is the town moorings are licensed by us. Yeah. Something we.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. Yeah. Gary, you're next.
Gary Pollard on the Harbors Committee, and I know Neil likes graphs. I like visual aids, so.
Oh, we got two.
Picture of Chris Reeves preparing to tow a 30-odd foot sunken, abandoned liveaboard to the dump to get chainsawed up, which I'm not sure the total cost, but I'm guessing somewhere upwards around 10,000. Is that close, Kate? The cost to dispose of that boat? So it's very understandable why people are, this is a general comment about liveaboards. It's very understandable why novices are buying boats to liveaboard during the summer season because of the housing crisis.
Right.
And it's going to just continue to happen. And if Great Salt Pond was a lake, probably wouldn't be a problem so much. But it's such a big body of water. When a squall comes through, it's nor'easter, the waves build, boats break loose. Any novice boater, if they say they've never dragged their anchor in the middle of the night, and hit something, is probably not telling the truth.
Right.
Anchoring is not easy.
No.
It's an art form almost. So it's going to just continue. I just want to point out this measure and others may be needed to add as time goes on and more liveaboards appear.
Yeah.
And it's my understanding a town can prohibit liveaboards. I'm not suggesting that. Like I said, I understand why people do it.
Right.
But it's unfortunate that they don't really know what they're getting into sometimes.
Right.
Some of them do,
Some-
yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just something
Thank you,
that's
Gary.
going to
This is
increase, I
actually-
think, as time goes
I
by.
didn't see this.
You're welcome.
David.
David Lewis again. I just wanted to clarify, the memo from Kate and the manager only spoke to liability insurance, not hull and environmental, which the motion and the agenda says. So do we agree that it is, all three of those are relevant in the motion?
My motion was, yes, to carry liability, hull, and environmental insurance at $300,000.
Great, thank you.
And we have a second. Any comments, concerns, et cetera? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Item 10, discuss and act on Rhode Island Municipal Education Compact. Mary Ann.
So some of you may have been following this. It's been getting some media release that the governor has requested that all chief executive officers of municipalities in Rhode Island sign an education compact. He has $4 million he's put aside in order to provide for grant opportunity for all municipalities to apply for. And as he speaks to in his compact statement here, it's basically expanding the concept of the culture of learning from 180 days to 365 days. And I was on the call as well as Superintendent Girardi, and also Jess Willie was on the call with us when we spoke to some of the folks that are leading this particular mission of the governor. What the governor has done is he has met with chief executives of municipalities and had a media and a public signing ceremony. So we did ask if the governor would come out to Block Island, and they said possibly, but they thought it'd be more virtually. So I'm just asking the council for a motion to support this and support my signature. And we'll work closely with the school as to how best to apply for the funds. We spoke of a number of ideas during the phone conversation, and just really specifically, and after I looked at the math scores, I did look at them. She said math, math, math. So I think we might end up applying for something in the math area.
Great.
Or possibly attendance and things of that nature. And it's pretty much open to us. And it's almost fits Block Island because of how much we do at the library and other areas. So I think it really dovetail into the community really nicely.
Okay. Any comment publicly, Bill?
I have one where it was tailored back to the question before, so I'll let you finish.
Oh, okay. Jess, this is something that the school board's excited about as well, I assume. Cool. Okay, so I would make a motion to endorse the Rhode Island Municipal Education Compact and direct the town manager to sign the compact. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Guys have it. Discuss it? Yes, sorry, Bill.
Yeah, no problem. I'm
Come on.
sorry, I'm trying to get this in.
No, please.
I think that's the policy you've adopted for the insurance. If someone doesn't, what's the mechanism for Kate if they don't have it? Does it need to be, this probably needs something, an ordinance or something?
Well, it's an interesting question because I think that harbors can refuse to rent a mooring to someone. I think they have that discretion. However, I think with anchoring, it's probably a lot more challenging because it's a harbor of refuge. So Old Harbor is. Yeah. That's what I was saying. Yeah, so the answer is on that. I don't know, Bill.
Yeah.
But New Harbor is
And my
not.
probably question for the attorneys down the line is it something should be an ordinance form?
Yeah.
She would have some heat if she needed it down the line. That's all.
I don't think you were here at our last meeting. That was one of the, what we really ended up discussing is what's the mechanism for doing this? And I was glad to hear Mary Ann say that, this is probably going to create a lot more conversation, including around, the issue that you brought up about more widespread requirement of insurance. Because as happy as I was to make that motion and support it, I sort of feel like it ought to have some sort of force of ordinance or, something beyond, hey, would you require this?
And one of the things I asked Kate to do as we were researching this, as you remember, Kate went to a class down in Charleston. I said, reach out to your colleagues that you attended class with, and sure enough, she did, and some from Charleston responded. So we're gathering a lot of information on this. As I said in the beginning, and as the first warden echoed, we're not done with this. We'll definitely be back probably in the near future, probably in 6 to 8 months before next season.
And then maybe we can get a harbor management plan done.
Let's not ask too much.
Yeah.
Item number 11 is to discuss and act on a resolution welcoming the Golden Rule Peace Ship to Rhode Island in support of a nuclear-free world. I don't know what, I assume the members of the town council have read this online. It was on Clerk Base. Members of the public, it's on Clerk Base. This is a resolution that was approved by the legislature pretty recently, welcoming this ship with a history of sort of being a symbol of a nuclear-free world. Is how I would describe it. I don't know whether you've read it.
Yep.
So is this ship coming to Block Island?
This ship is going to be docking, I believe, in Bristol, Rhode Island. And they have as part of their mission to try to get every town in the state to welcome them to Rhode Island.
Yeah. I
And
mean, why, I guess my question is, why are we talking about this?
now, I need to be clear. I neither drafted nor asked for this resolution.
Does that mean we can't have submarines
Or does it mean if you don't do it, you support nuclear war? You
Well-
know, like, I mean, I don't know. You know,
It's a conundrum.
you know, there's a lot of,
Can we invite the boat here and have them come and present to us?
The boat's here, it's here just for 2 days.
I'm in Block Island.
We'll be visiting, scheduled to visit Rhode Island for the month of June, from the 11th to the 13th. Only in port for a few days here, where I'm not sure.
That
It's-
little boat.
it's actually smaller than I expected when I saw the photographs of it, honestly. It's a sailboat.
Show them what the-
So it'll fit in our harbor.
Oh, more than, it'll fit on,
The Eagles excuse
Yes.
is it draws too much water.
That's what it looks
this
like.
doesn't draw too much water.
Looks like about what would you say, 36?
I still look forward to it visiting so we can meet them.
Very well. What's your pleasure, guys? Brad?
They're staying at the Atlantic. No, just joking.
Brad Martha's, but as Martha well knows, years ago, we invited the Endeavor to come here. They did come. Invite them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come and we'd love to support them.
I would say, can we send a letter to Mr. Watt, from whom we received the request, or I can, because it was addressed to me. I can send him, if the council would like, I can send him a letter saying we would love to welcome him to Block Island.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, great.
Thank
On
you
we
very
go.
much.
Review our financial reports. Is Amy on? Yeah.
No, he can't dock if that's. That would be funny. And then Kate.
How am I doing? Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I don't want, I want to be supportive of Veterans for Peace, you know? Hi, Amy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Just fantastic. We were here to review our financial reports. thank you for putting those together as always.
Yeah, so we're coming up through the end of April in these financials and obviously getting very close to the end of the year. In general, everything looks good. Revenues are strong, expenditures are tracking. We, as always, will be managing those right till the end of the year and seeing what we can squeeze in and accomplish. There are a couple things that I would point out just for information, if you don't mind following me through a
Please.
few pages, if that's all right. Starting on page 2 with taxes is really just a reminder as we look at the percent used year over year that with the elimination of motor vehicle taxes, we're not going to hit 100% on those current year collections because the state is reimbursing those motor vehicle taxes rather than us collecting them. So if you look at the bottom line there, motor vehicle taxes, you can see 204,000 year to date, well in excess of our budget. So that's just a reminder. Yep.
Can I just interrupt and ask a question about the mechanism that the state chose for that? Presumably the state is the state budgeting to send those to us in fiscal 23-24. You know, in other words, are they paid in retrospect or, you know, paid retrospectively?
To my knowledge, that is included in the 24 budget, that they will continue that practice. How far beyond, I'm not going to commit to, and I don't think they will either.
So I guess, do we get a transfer in this fiscal year, or do you
We-
have to do accounting that requires you to sort of,
We get a transfer in this fiscal year.
great, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
On page 3, where we're looking at licenses, permits, and fees, there are really 3 main categories here that we pay attention to. The first is recording fees, which are trending a little bit low. You can see 72% of the budgeted amount. Other clerks' fees at 78% are doing a little bit stronger, still not quite where I'd like them to be, but
So are you saying Millie's underperforming?
I'm saying the dollars don't reflect the volume of work they have over there. How's and then building permits is the last one that we keep an eye on. So $180,220 year to date. That's at 90% of budget. So we do expect that we'll hit 100% and beyond on the building permit revenue.
It does, if I assume you follow this, I follow it just sort of occasionally, but there are some large construction projects contemplated, private, and I assume that is cause to expect that in the next fiscal year, that number will, you know, may be quite robust.
Yeah, the challenge with those projects is the timing.
Yeah.
Is that we never quite know when they're going to come or
Yes.
how they're going to be broken out.
Right.
They may be large in aggregate, but actually spread over 2 years. It is a pattern that we're still learning, honestly.
Right, absolutely. Any questions for Amy? Oh, sorry.
No, that's
Go
okay.
ahead, Amy. I didn't-
I'll take you to page 6, which is state aid. With 2 comments. The first is around hotel and meals tax. Hotel tax, we knew was trending a little bit behind, but is doing well. Meals tax, there's something interesting going on that we're still working through with Division of Taxation in that we have not seen any remittances for meals tax since January. So they're going to work on that and figure out what's going on. But in the meantime, it makes it very challenging for us to know exactly what that trend looks like for the second half of the year. So we're keeping an eye on that and hopefully we'll have answers soon. And then
Is that something that other towns are experiencing?
you know what? I haven't asked around. I went right to the
I was
source.
just curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Usually it does work that way,
Yeah.
but we'll find out more. And then the last line there on that page is the $100,033. That is our ARPA application. So that will be reserved until we can meet the criteria and decide how that will be expended. We did file our first ARPA report which was due April 30th, and that will need to be on our agenda over the next few months to continue to understand what the best direction for the town to take will be.
Terrific. Thank you, Amy.
Sure. On page 7, there's just one item for the month of April, and that's the $47,000 under DEM. Just wanted to let you know that Andy's Way grant revenue did come in, which is always exciting. It's nice to see that project completed. Thank you, everyone who supported it.
Absolutely.
Are there other revenue questions before I take you through a couple expenditures?
Yes,
Sven.
Sure.
As you know, I discuss this often. I really want to have an agenda item in the next month and a half or so about new revenue sources. We keep pounding down on different costs and different opportunities, but we've got to get a little more creative and continue that. So if we can have a line item the day you're here, Amy, that would be great to try and look at whether it's, just keep it at new revenue opportunities.
Short-term rental.
Yeah.
I'm,
Well-
there's a number of them, but
I'm glad you raised that because I know that we have a short-term rental work session coming up, and perhaps agenda item number 2 on that could be a little brainstorming around it.
I mean,
around
short-term
other-
rentals. is definitely
around
one of them.
around other revenue
Yeah.
ideas.
What
Yeah.
date is that?
Oh, that's the one I'm not going to be here.
You should be here for that.
All right, we'll figure that out.
Thank you.
On the expenditure side, just really 3 things. The first is on page 16 with the building department. And because it was such a discussion at financial town meeting, just wanted to talk about the consultant building official line, where this represents 53,238. That's through the end of March, which is 75% of the way through the year. So we're projecting about $70,000 in total expenditures. And we had alluded to this at the night of the meeting, that was actually tracking below budget. So I just wanted to let everyone know where to find it if you wanted to pay attention.
Bill.
So if that's tracking below, budget, that's the building inspector. If that's tracking below budget, is it possible for more hours or whatever to address whatever those needs were?
One of the really, I think, I actually thought that conversation was really helpful, because we heard from people. I'm really happy and optimistic that as soon as, I think the day after the financial town meetings, there were meetings with town officials and folks from the construction industry and the building inspector to start working on what the best model might be. So, what I got from the financial town meeting, for what it's worth, is it wasn't necessarily sort of about the money per se. It was about the value and the need and how to fulfill those. And I want to speak for you, Marianne, but I've been very pleased with the conversations that are going on. Does that help? Okay, go ahead, Amy.
Sure. Page 23, capital tax. If you don't mind, just the Mansion Beach bathrooms, the town manager included this in her report as well. And so we're pushing through to the end of that project and finally have an estimate of where that will wind up in terms of cost. The combination of unexpected permitting and then the transport and installation of that, we're looking at about $80,000 over budget on that project. This was originally funded through the infrastructure fund. We have identified offsetting areas within the general fund budget, particularly in engineering and facilities, to absorb the balance of that project. I think everyone agrees it's important to get it completed and installed. So we have made room in the 23 budget to absorb that amount.
So can I ask, what's the total amount on that now? If it's 80,000 over, what was the initial
The
estimate?
initial was 175, so 250. 255.
Thank you.
Sure.
$80,000 is a lot. Can you identify where that's coming from?
Most of it's going to be out of the Public Works, which is page 14. And so we have roughly 20,000, just under 20,000 in the consultant engineering, which is really an appropriate place to absorb that. We had about $30,000 in engineering and permitting costs that were not anticipated as part of this project. Then we've got just under 40,000 in facilities also available. And then between the Director of Public Works line and the road materials line, I do expect we'll have extra space as well.
So what was so 80 seems like a lot on a project that's only in at 175. What's driving the 80,000? I mean, I know how you're budgeting for, you're gonna pull from the other groups, but.
How
what
did
was
we
the-
get to where we are? Yes.
That's what I thought Bill was asking. Actually, I was going to follow up. Thank you.
Sure. And so, as I said, it's about 30,000 in permitting that was unanticipated. It's about 30,000 in transport and installation. So 30,000 on the transport, 30,000 on the engineering, and about 20,000 in the installation costs that were not included in the original proposal or the original scope of work that was set out with the 175. So I think it's fair to say it's a combination of inaccurate costing on the front end and then some unexpected issues on the other side.
So when you say permitting through who? The state?
Permitting and engineering through the state, CRMC, and then local permitting as well. And the engineering that needed to accompany that. That also includes some work with Department of Health and navigating that process. So, and that may or may not also have included DEM.
Okay, so
As well as our zoning board, right?
Yep, and as well as our local process, yes.
Could I ask a question, because I just can't remember. When did this idea come about? Because I know I feel like it was before, how long ago, Tom? 2019, okay. So did I, but.
It did. It started before my time. So,
Yeah.
it was, in the budget at that point.
So Amy, do you feel like part of the overage is just due to the length of time that that 175 was our initial estimate and things have just gotten more expensive? Is that part of this?
That's certainly part of it. I don't have that number handy off the top of my head, but I know there also was price escalation in the actual facility itself
Mhm.
over time. Mhm.
Go ahead.
I certainly would imagine that played into the transport costs as well.
Right.
So in allocating these funds, are we going to shortchange any other project, or was it over budgeted, or was where, $80,000 come from something, is that?
Sure, these will come from under expenditures. I don't believe that we will have to defer or eliminate any projects that are currently on the table.
Well, I hear that. I can only imagine that 40,000 coming out of facilities or other areas will have some impact somewhere. I'm sure they can work around it, but it just means, it is what it is though, right? And so one of the things that we could probably do when we have these 5-year delays or whatever it may be, is do some refresher as we sort of do that last budget. And that probably wouldn't be a bad idea for, the next go rounds down the future.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I think Tom will be very happy when this thing gets installed, is my is my sense of it. Yeah, you've done I've seen.
So
you
would Sharon
be-
Littlefield.
I've seen you before, a couple of the boards, and I know it's not been easy. Yeah. Anything else, Amy?
Sure, one more on the last page, page 24, debt service. And over here, we're looking third line from the bottom at other financing sources. You'll see 99,816. This is really the final transfer of distribution from Island Light and Power. If you recall, last year around this time, they made a preliminary distribution of 540,000. This is now the balance of those funds. They have no additional cash or assets. And so we have everything today from Island Light and Power on the town side. As a
Amy wasn't finished.
That's okay. I know where she's going. But just want to remind everyone that that is set aside in a restricted fund to offset the debt service over the life of that bond. Now Martha can,
The tax issue, is that resolved yet?
yes, this was the final distribution after the tax issues were resolved.
So that organization is gone now, has been dissolved or is being dissolved? Or who knows?
Bill?
I think that my understanding it was, I guess, check with Nancy, but it is supposed to be dissolved, but it wasn't going to be dissolved until you guys received all the funds, so I think probably should,
Did you vote to dissolve yourselves yet?
we haven't met.
Gotcha. That wasn't a joke. I mean,
No.
is there
No.
assume there's a process for dissolving.
don't
right?
think so.
Yeah.
There was a question of what is the process for that, so.
Yeah,
Let me speak with Nancy, we'll have an answer for the next
Great.
week.
Great, thank you.
that's great. Thanks, Bill.
So those funds, if I got-
Yeah.
those funds are gonna go right towards the debt service for the money we had borrowed on that.
That's correct. In the 24 budget, we're budgeting the use of about $78,000 to offset the debt service.
Thank you.
Any questions for Amy? This was terrific.
Amy, I've been getting like super great feedback about your broadband meetings once a week.
Thank
Are you going to continue doing those?
Yes, we have, tomorrow's session is dedicated to streaming and how to stream. I expect that we will do more of those. I think we'll have a lot of attendance at that one, but Thursdays, 10 o'clock at the library, we will continue both Q&As and special sessions on all things broadband. Bring your questions.
And how many sections are open now? And
Sure, we've got 7 FSAs open at this point, 7 out of 11. So 1 through 6 and 8 are open. It's not clear that we'll be able to open FSA 7 next Monday, but possibly towards the end of next week, we'll be able to open 7.
and then do you have any estimate about when you anticipate all of them being open?
Sure, the original schedule, which we're still well ahead of, didn't call for 7 or the subsequent ones to open until August. So we are pretty aggressively trying to get the people who are ready to go today and get them registered. And then those who might be delaying or not on island have to wait a little while. They'll move to the end of the list, if you will. But they're starting to develop a backlog of appointments. And so now they're booking about 3 to 4 weeks out. That's about as far out as we want to be making people wait. So we need to do a little bit of catch up before we can get back to opening 7, 9, 10, and 11.
Great,
So.
thanks.
Are you 11?
I'm sorry, somebody has to go last.
I got a nice house on Beacon Hill that is. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Item 13, receive and act on the report of the town manager.
So you have my town manager's report in front of you. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And we touch on a lot of things in this report. So if one thing I would like to highlight is Kim, the human service, our new human service director has really hit the ground running. She has Social Security Administration coming out here. She has one completed application for Meals on Wheels, another 2 pending. Also, she's reached out to state for someone who needs transportation to the medical center, and the state has a statewide contract for that, and she's reached out to those folks to get them out here to start doing that transportation. So we're really making some progress. She's making some progress. So it was a great hire.
That attitude that she has, that Block Island is saying directly to people in state government, Block Island is actually part of Rhode Island, and we pay taxes to the state for those services, and we therefore want those services, has been one of the wonderful parts of having her. She's been really active and engaged in a constructive way, but I don't get the sense there's a lot of back down in her. You know.
She does it eloquently.
Yes, she does. She does. Absolutely. Are there any questions for the town manager? Bill? Oh, sorry.
I have a quick question. On the agenda, it says, Public Works, that we would get an update. And it's not on here, so I'm just curious, where do we stand on the advertising of the Director of Public Works job? And, what's the timeline on that?
So I've started initial conversations with the negotiating contract with individuals, so you will definitely see that on the agenda for the next meeting in June, the first meeting in June.
Bill? Oh, good. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Thank you, Marianne. Appreciate the report. It's very helpful. Item 14, discuss and act on board, commission, and committees. Let's see, I've got to get to my online thing here. Are there names that we have to approve here, Millie? I'm sorry. I feel like I didn't. For a full, yes.
Yeah, he's currently serving as the alternate.
Yes.
And he is ready to move up to.
Okay.
I thought we did.
I thought we had
There was
two.
a question, you had brought the question back to, as to why the term was 5 years.
Right. Yeah, no, that's right. You're asking about the term.
Yeah, and it's in their stated.
Great. So we don't have, because it's not on the agenda, can we make a motion about Lars? Go ahead, Brad. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, a man in your condition may not be able to make it to the.
It's much better now. Brad Martins, for Sewer and Water. He did, as my understanding, put his name in for the
Yes.
secondary position, and we did vote him in as a commission, but come to you as well.
Great. So a motion would be in order to appoint Lars Trodson to a 5-year term as a full member expiring 2028. Second. All those in favor indicate, or is there any discussion? No. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Let's see, vacancies. We have one vacancy on Commission on Motor Vehicles for Hire, and remember, Brad, to send somebody or to that meeting on the 21st. Yes. Somebody's going to come and just walk us through that. Wonderful. Water District Commission has 2 alternates open, and Sewer has 2 alternates open as well. If you attended the financial town meeting, you know there's a really significant project being undertaken by water. And if you're at all interested in town government, this would be a really interesting place to get involved. It's critical stuff for the town's infrastructure. It's also a great opportunity to be involved in what are very interesting policy issues. So please, for both water and sewer, and I've said this before, but if you have not, and you're a resident, I was so blown away by the tour of our sewer, our wastewater treatment facility. It's extraordinary for a town of our size, how well it works and how immaculate it is. And to the point where I was thinking that perhaps sometime this fall, I think it would be really worthwhile to have an open house at those places so that people can see, because it's extraordinary. It's really, really worth spending an hour with Dylan or with John in both those places. And it gives you sort of a lot of comfort about how well our these operations are run.
You'll see where their $3 million go.
Yeah,
At least in the water.
yeah. I mean,
Learn.
yeah, absolutely.
It won't be the last request.
Is there anything? Yeah, anything else to come before us? If not, a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Hey, Rob. We approved the painting. Yes.
Yeah.
We just say, you have got to do that one too.
Realize why we need more money, if only to get it right at Rob's.
Exactly, yeah. I wanted that. Oh.